Hey, everybody, my name is Hannah Jones, and you're listening to the Lead With Me podcast. Welcome. All this week, I am talking about some very important moments of 2020 that really has shaped my year, has shaped my frame of thinking. Um, and one of them was in June of 2020 with the death of George Floyd and the death of Breonna Taylor, representing the deaths of so many Black bodies and Black lives, to police brutality, the death of Black bodies and and violence against Black lives, the racial systemic racism, and racial inequality and racial inequity and systemic racism within our country. I often talk about there are five systems that uphold white supremacy, and they are law, they are education, they are media, they are money, and they are the healthcare system. And although violence is probably the most, although law is probably the most violent system towards Black people, I always talk about education being the most vital system as it educates our youth. But again, the law, our law system, our legal system is the most violent toward Black bodies. And the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor showcase that. So I went to Washington, D.C., and I was able to go to Black Lives Matter Plaza. I was able to march. I was able to stand in solidarity. I was able to march with my people. And it was quite the experience. I came back and I wrote a letter to white people, and I'm going to read it and unpack that letter today. I've never read the letter out loud until today. I just kind of wrote it, and I posted it, and you can find it on my Instagram. You can follow me at Hannah Naomi Lead and at Hannah Naomi Jones on Instagram and on Facebook. So here goes. Dear white people, so I have several messages from so many white people apologizing in the last few days. I didn't know how to deal with it at first, because I've trained myself to have Black exceptionality and never need the apology of white people. However, I cried for 2 days reading some of these apologies. I don't want the apology for what your ancestors have done or even what you have done. Thank you. I won't stop you. But the great thing about consciousness is once you have become aware and you make a conscious decision to do something or nothing or oppress people with your privilege or use it for good, this is on you and your soul. White folks, without adapting the superhero white savior syndrome, you lead too. I can't speak for all Black people because our healing and compassion levels vary, and I would never take that space to figure out their relationship with white people away. But I personally don't want you on your knees. I want you next to me and strategically tearing down every system of power that has harmed historically marginalized people, and more specifically, my people. I want you to fight for reparations. Y'all haven't showed up for us ever in the history of us. I just want you to use your privilege for good. Lead from a moral consciousness. You have everything you need. Knowledge is infinite. Keep learning from the lens of someone other than yourself. You are not a villain. Although whiteness has done villainous, horrific things to my people that you can help to fix and heal. Understand the historical context of power, privilege, and oppression. I'm still emotional from the barriers that have set me back, tried to take me out, messed up my kids and my mental health at one point, but yet defied the odds. Oppression tried to bury me. Inequity robbed me. And yet I'm the rose that grew out of the concrete. I forgive you. If you never apologize, if your efforts are temporary, Black people have and will continue to be resilient and magical and overcome. Get up. I can't let you stay on your knees. Lead with me, Hannah Naomi. Again, I've never read this letter out loud, but it's the latter part of the letter that affirms my story, my people's story, my grandmother's story, my great-grandmother's story, my grandfather's story, my ancestors' story, my mother's story, my father's story. And it really speaks to the relationship we have as a country between Black and white people. I don't want white people on their knees. I don't want to see you there in that posture. I want you to get up and do something with your privilege and help forge a new identity and help rewrite the wrongs. James Baldwin talks about the lie and how America has protected the lie. And Black bodies die to protect the lie. And white women lie on Emmett Till to protect the lie. And Black girls get shot in the head and being accused of stealing orange juice in South Central LA because of the lie. And nothing happens to those who shot her in the head because of the lie. And when he talks about the lie, he has written recommendations on how to stop protecting the lie. And part of it is storytelling. Part of it is capturing on camera what has happened today. He said, tell your story like your life depends on it. And so in Eddie Glaude's new book, where he co-writes with James Baldwin posthumously, which is well written, he takes Baldwin's recommendations and applies them to today. So when he talks about storytelling, he talks about the video of Fidel Castile being shot. He talks about the video of George Floyd. He talks about Sandra Bland. He talks about the video. He talks about the 7 organizers of Black Lives Matter in Ferguson that have all died mysteriously to suicide, but we believe they have been murdered. We have to tell the stories so that people will stop protecting the lie. America will stop protecting the lie. This is some of the work that we're asking you to do. If you really are here to make a change and forge a new identity and create a new world, stop protecting the lie. And James Baldwin says it is not Black people's responsibility to save white people, but it is our responsibility to help create a racial equitable society, to create a new world, to use those stories, to speak out, to forge a new identity, to shape a new world, and to make the world easy for when white people do come to their moral consciousness, when white people do decide that they're no longer going to protect the lie, to come over and join us in that world. And that's what that book is about. It's a great book. You should read it. It's called Begin Again. And this letter reminds me of protecting the lie. And so what I'm asking white people to do is no longer protect the lie. And so I'll leave you with this. In order to transform the world, we must admit that there is a system of power that oppresses and suppresses other cultures in order to maintain itself. For those with privilege, ask yourself, within this system in everyday life, are you using your privilege to harm or help people? Ask yourself, how can I be a more critically race-conscious leader? Ask yourself, what more do I need to learn around the things related to culture, power, and difference? Ask yourself, how does my own social location, race, class, identity, religion, and belief shape my mindset about the work I do? And how does it impact the people I'm around and the practices I use? When we begin to examine power as part of the equation, we have a better understanding of how racism, oppression, and issues of cultural bias, privilege work to undermine the success and economic empowerment of Black people. We are socialized not to raise critical questions and dialogue about race. This exacerbates the racial and social economic inequalities that we have in society. My name is Hannah Jones, and you're listening to Lead With Me, the podcast. If you want to write me a letter, or if you want to follow me on Facebook or subscribe, make sure you do. Follow me at Hannah Naomi Lead or Hannah Naomi Jones, or both. You can email me at hannahnaomi@hannahnaomilead.com. I would love to hear your thoughts, and learn with me, lead with me. Thank you.